Welcome to another episode of Software Explorations, Concepts and Overviews, hosted by your truly tech coach Ralph, where we are engineered to win. In today's episode, we are going to be going over Python. Yes, Python programming. We're going to dig into that, see why is it so important? Why is it the most popular coding language? So let's jump into it. If you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel, help the channel grow as we continue to provide you all of that amazing information, helping you to level up in all aspects of the tech field. All right. So we are going to jump into it. I'm going to make this statement as well. In the Patreon, in TechCoach Patreon, techcoach.dev, I am giving free access to see the sprint reviews that the Tech Barbarians do. So every other week, once we complete our sprint, I am going to be uploading the sprint review so you can see what we're working on, so you can have some insight in case you are looking to have more details about how sprint reviews work. So definitely want to check that out. Free sign up. You can get access to those sprint reviews as well as see the additional content that we put out exclusive to the Patreon. All right. So with that being said, we're going to jump into it. Let's get into our Python programming presentation. All right, let's get to it. Python language. We're going to be talking about understanding Python, why it's so important, and some learning tips to help you level up in your Python game. All right, let's get to it. So our agenda for today, what exactly is Python? Why is Python important? How did it get so popular? And how you can easily learn Python? What's the recommended learning path? Some tips for effective learning, what challenges you might face in Python, and what challenges does Python have altogether, and then some resources and references. There are so many different resources for Python, but I'm going to share with you some of mine, all right? So let's jump into the presentation on Python. So what exactly is Python? We're going to go over the definition, the history of Python, and some key features of Python, all right? So Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics. It's high-level built-in data structures combined with dynamic typing and dynamic binding makes it very attractive for rapid application development, as well as for use as a scripting or glue language to connect existing components together. So pretty much one of the most popular languages out there. It is object-oriented, high-level. You can pretty much do there's so many different routes you can go with Python. You can use Python to develop web applications. You can use it to. It's very big with data and statistics and number processing. One of the first things I did with Python was helping a relative of mine with their master thesis, where they built they're doing some triangulation with some different library using pandas and NumPy and all this type of stuff. They were doing some crazy stuff, but it was really fun. It was really fun. All right. So Python's simple, easy to learn syntax emphasizes readability and therefore reduces costs of program maintenance. Python supports modules and packages, which encourages program modularity and code reuse. Right, so pretty much functions, and you can import different modules and things like that, so that it makes it a lot easier and a lot more extendable. And one of the things that I really like about Python as well is that it is not as strict on syntax as other languages such as C# and Java might be. So it's a very good language to get started with. I wouldn't recommend to stop with Python, but it is a definite language that you would definitely want to get started with. So let's talk about the history of Python, all right? So it was initially designed by Guido van Rossum in 1991 and developed by Python Software Foundation. It was mainly developed to emphasize code readability, and its syntax allows programmers to express concepts in fewer lines of code. So there's some languages, because the syntax is so strict, that you end up getting so much code, but with Python, it's really basic, and it's more about the indentations than it is about, oh, did I forget the semicolon? Did I put this colon here? Did I put these parentheses here? Or do I have to declare exactly what type of variable it is? It's very flexible, and that's why it's so easy to learn. Like I just said, I would not stop with Python, but I would definitely use that as an opportunity to get started and then go from there. So why is it called Python? Why is Python called Python? That is a great question. The inspiration for the name came from the BCC's what is it? British Broadcasting. Some I don't remember exactly what BCC stands for, but it's the British broadcast, right? TV show Monty Python's Flying Circus, as he was a big fan of the TV show and also wanted a short, unique, slightly mysterious name for his invention, and hence he named it Python. So that's what Guido decided to name Python based on Monty Python's Flying Circus, the BBC TV show. So a quick history of Python, right? So Van Rossum publishes Python version 0.9 to alternate sources, and then Python 1.0, including functional programming, lambdas map, filter, reduce, was in 1994, so 3 years after it was published. And then Python 2 came out in 2000, so about 6 years later. Python 2 introduces list comprehension and garbage collection. And in 2008, Python 3 fixes fundamental design flaws, and it's not backwards compatible, so that kind of sucks. And then 2020, just recently, Python 2's end of life. Last version was 2.7. So some people are still using Python 2.7 because it's pretty much hard for them to migrate to 3. To Python 3 and above. But it like Python 3 offers so many much better features. I never actually used Python 2 because when I got into Python about 2 years ago now, I went straight into Python 3. I think I went into Python 3.7 where they had like the F strings and things like that, which made it so much easier. So Python, it's actually a great language. I learned Java. Well, I learned HTML and CSS first, and then some JavaScript. But then my main software development language was Java. But so going from Java to Python was so much easier to learn, and the syntax of Python is so much easier. So just so many things I've done in Python, which is really great, really great. So what are the key features of Python, right? So Python is object-oriented. Python recognizes classes and objects, which can make coding more efficient, definitely more efficient. It is free and open source, so that is great. Python is free to use, and anyone can modify or extend the language. Another key feature is high level. Python doesn't require programmers to remember system architecture or manage memory, and is interpreted. So Python is interpreted, meaning programs can be run through interpretation instead of compilation. In addition, it is easy to code, and that I have to back that 100%. Python has simple syntax, is easy to read, and is portable. So it's like this, right? So I'll have a Python script on one computer, and then I'll push it to GitHub and I'll import it on another computer, and I can just run it out the box. Don't have to worry about anything. It's going to, as long as I install the requirements, the different modules that's necessary, it'll get going without any issues. So it has a large standard library. Python standard library includes modules, operations, and web service tools that can be used without writing additional code. So that's great. So let's keep going. Python is also extendable. It is a cross-platform. It's cross-platform and can run on any operating system, making it a good choice for building cross-platform applications. And one of my two of my tech barbarians, right? One of them is on a Mac, and they're writing the automation code in Python. The other one is on a Windows machine, and they push the code up to the GitHub. They pull it in, and they're able to run each other's code without any issues. It runs perfectly. And Python has community support. Python has an active community that provides guides, tutorials, and other documentation. Very, very important that you have community support for whatever tool that you're using, because a lot of times people want to adopt these tools that they don't have much community support, so you don't have much resources, much people to talk to in case you run into an issue. There's not much development going on it. So being that Python is so massive, so huge, there's always going to be community support. There's always going to be people who are picking it up, adding to it, making it better. So very, very important. That's one of the most important things to me, is having good community support for an application you decide to use. So why is Python important, right? It's important, bruh. It's important, bruh. So let's get into it. Let's find out why Python is actually important. So Python is a versatile language used across various fields, including web development, data science, very, very important for data science, data engineering, and automation, making it a valuable skill for many careers. And like I am a QA automation engineer. So I use Python for API testing, for web-based UI testing, so many other things. But it does even more than that. It's so much more than just QA automation. It can do all types of automation. And data science, that is key, because Python is so great for data processing, for big numbers, for analytics and things like that. So it is major for data science. Python for web development, it's possible. It's probably not the most popular choice, but it's definitely possible. They have different front end tools that you can use, different packages. Which maybe we will jump into that one day. One of the courses for learning Python that I recommend, it goes into all the different aspects of data science, of web development, of building applications, desktop applications and things like that. So very important, right? It has a simple and readable syntax, allowing developers to write code quickly and efficiently, reducing development time and maintenance costs, which is very important, right? I mean, of course, the language you're going to choose is the best one for the job, but Python makes it so much easier to get started. Like I said, a few years ago, it had to be like maybe 5 years ago, I was helping a relative of mine with their master thesis, and I had never used Python before, but just my knowledge from using Java, I was able to help them and guide them into creating this algorithm for their master thesis, which helped significantly, and it was very readable. You know, we use the test-driven development practices, so the development time did not take too long in order to get that done. So Python also includes an extensive library and framework support rapid application development and innovation, enabling solutions to complex problems. And, you know, that's what coding is supposed to do. It is supposed to help you quickly solve complex problems. And it has a large, like we mentioned earlier, it has a large and active community which provides abundant resources and support, fostering continuous learning and improvement. So Python is getting better every single day. Every time they push out a new version, a new release, a new fix, that just means that the software is growing, the language is growing, and is getting better. So why is it popular, right? I mean, I can't help if Python is popular, neither can Python help it, but it's popular. So let's find out why Python is actually popular. So Python's popularity surged in recent years, consistently ranking among top programming languages due to its versatility and ease of use. Its widespread adoption in fields like data science, AI, artificial intelligence, and web development makes it preferred choice for both beginners and experienced developers. And definitely in AI, because when I use the integration with ChatGPT OpenAI, I was using that with Python, with their Python libraries. When I'm doing the different S3 actions or AWS actions using their Bodo library, Bodo 3, that's using Python and things like that to be able to connect. I wrote this amazing script for work where I was able to use S3 in Python to connect to AWS, find some files, and pretty much creating this batch job operation that if you were doing it manually, it would take so much time. But we're able to create something that would probably take us like hours to do. It creates it in seconds because of this script that I wrote using Python. So very, very important. So how can you right there, learn Python easily? All right. So this is my recommendation for learning Python easily, right? Start by setting clear goals to understand what you want to achieve with the language, whether it's web development, data analysis, or automation, right? So you need to know what my actual goal is. Then you're going to begin with the basics, focusing on the Python syntax, the data types, so integers, strings, booleans, things of that nature, so that you can have a good understanding the control structures, and you use online resources like tutorials and interactive courses, so that you can follow along and make sure that you're getting a good understanding of what you're working on. In addition to that, you want to practice regularly by solving coding challenges on platforms such as like LeetCode. If you're into LeetCode, HackerRank is another one. There's Code Wars, so that you can reinforce your understanding. It's very important that you get practice, because a lot of times people will learn something, but then they don't practice. We're not, and I'm not saying we're not going to like practice. Who needs practice? No, we need practice. We need to refine our skills. If people can spend hours upon hours to practice, the Olympics is going on. How much time do you think the gymnasts spend practicing their routine over and over and over again? And even with that, sometimes they still make mistakes. So we need to practice our craft so that we can be the best at it. Like I always say, you should be putting 10 to 20 hours a week extra to practice and get better. Another way to learn it easy is to utilize their extensive libraries and frameworks to explore specific areas of interest, like Flask for web development, Pandas for data analysis, right? And for data analysis, there's pandas, there's NumPy, there's matplotlib, my arch nemesis, right? So many different things for data analysis. For web development, there's Flask, there's Django, so many different things that you can pick up on. And not to even mention the different AI integrations as well, where you can query AI and get responses and build that into different applications, you know? So like, and you can build that into the data analysis. You can build that into the web development. So many different opportunities, but you just have to think about different ways you can use it. Think of an idea and start to build it, you know? In addition, join online communities, forums, local meetups to connect with other learners and gain insights from experienced programmers. So learn from each other. That's true networking. And finally, my biggest tip to you is work on real world projects to apply your knowledge practically. You have to solidify your skills and you build a portfolio of useful stuff, not just crap that you put together, but build something useful and present it to the world so that you can get actual feedback and say, hey, look, mom, look what I can do. I actually built something that brings value. Okay. So what are some effective learning paths for Python? So like we just mentioned, master the basics. Begin with fundamental concepts such as variables, data types, control structures, functions, and modules to establish a strong foundation. Explore the libraries, dive into popular Python libraries like NumPy, Pandas, matplotlib, like I mentioned, my arch nemesis for data analysis, or Django and Flask for web development. I just mentioned this, right? So that's what you have to jump into for an effective learning path. Engage in regular practice, you know, solving coding problems and challenges on platforms like LeetCode, HackerRank, Code Wars to improve problem-solving skills and reinforcing learning. So what I would normally do when I was doing these challenges, right? I would start with the solution, with the end result, and then I would work my way backwards. You know, if you want to get more insight on how to do that, then you can sign up for coaching and we can figure it, and I can help you with that. But I start with the end in mind. So what is the expected result? And then I'd write the code to meet those expected results. That is how I learned a majority of my coding language. Starting with the end, right? Work on projects. Apply your knowledge to build small projects such as a personal website, a data visualization tool, or a simple automation script to gain practical experience. Build something of use, right? Whether it's your own website, whether it's some tool to analyze some type of data, writing some Selenium code or API tests, you know, but whatever it is, you need to gain real experience, some useful experience as well. Then join the community, like we mentioned earlier, and then stay updated with the latest development in Python, upgrading, trying out the new features, attending webinars, exploring new tools, updates in the Python ecosystem. Very, very important. Knowing what's out there so that you can stay ahead of the curve. So tips for learning. These are my tips for you to learn Python, right? Follow a course. My biggest recommendation is you follow a course. I'm not telling you to go sign up for some $10,000 coding bootcamp. God, no. I'm not saying you do that. But you can easily get a course that doesn't cost too much. Follow the course. I recommend one on the Patreon. But you follow the course and you do the project that they give you, right? But in addition to that, while you're learning, you start planning a project that you can build on your own, something of value. Now, you start building based on the new knowledge that you're getting. So as you're doing the project in the course, you're also simultaneously building your project that's going to add value to the world. And you just continue to build alongside of it, right? That's going to give you motivation, confidence, and discipline to continue throughout the course because you're actually building something that means something to you. The projects that you do in the course, they don't mean much. You don't really care about them. But if you do those in the goal of building your own thing, then it's going to mean a lot more to you, right? So that's why I always say, start building based on the new knowledge, start building your project. The goal for you is to understand, not to just finish the course, not to just go through, say, oh, I finished this course, I got this certification. No, it's to actually understand what you're working on. So take it slowly. Spend some time to learn something of value, and then go back to the previous lessons and the previous projects. As you get further along in the course, go back to see, is it a lot easier now for you to build this because you've actually done it before? I don't want to see you struggling and like, oh, I got past it, not knowing what you did. Like, oh, somehow it worked, and then keep going. No, as you get it, and as you get more knowledge, go back and do it again. And now it should be a lot easier for you. That's part of practice. Do something that you did before over and over and over again, and it should be a lot easier, and you'd be able to do it a lot faster. You should find better ways of doing it. All right. So, lastly, always ask for feedback, get mentorship, ask for code reviews. If you're a Patreon member at whichever paid tier, I will review your code for you. I'll give you feedback on your code, and through messaging, I can give you some form of mentorship. It's not going to be like a one-on-one type thing, but I'll be able to message you and see how you're doing and things like that. But definitely we'll do your code review. And in the Patreon, we're going to be doing live code reviews where you can call in, you can show what you're working on, you can ask for a code review, and we're probably going to be doing it on Google Meet. Share your screen, say this is what I'm working on. What do you think? We can even leave comments on GitHub and things like that, right? So that's a feature that I'm going to be adding to the Patreon. But you definitely need feedback, mentorship, and code reviews. All right. So what are some challenges you might face in Python and when learning Python, right? So there's some performance limitations for Python, being that it's an interpreted language, which can lead to slower execution compared to compiled languages like C++, Java, making it less suitable for performance critical applications. So if performance for your application isn't like the end all be all, then Python is definitely it. But if you're looking for something to be like perform very well, be very fast, then you probably don't want to go with Python, all right? But like I said, Python is a good stepping stone. It's a great stepping stone to get into other languages because the syntaxes might change, but the concepts do not. So object-oriented programming, the concepts aren't different, right? But the syntaxes will be, and the performance of it, because they're compiled languages, they build everything and then they run. That's why you want to. So that's why you want to learn other languages, and continue to grow as well. Python for mobile development, not the primary choice for mobile app development. It has fewer libraries and tools designed for creating mobile apps compared to tools like Swift and Kotlin, things like that, right? So, and we've done mobile development on this site, on this channel already. We use Flutter so far. We might get into React Native at some point, but we use Flutter. And so Flutter is able to create it in one code base, and then it's able to take it into Swift or Kotlin for whatever platform it needs. But Python is not the number one choice for mobile development. So another challenge is the memory consumption of Python, right? It can be more memory intensive than some other languages, which can be a concern for applications with limited resources or an environment where memory efficiency is critical. So not the best for memory. And then dynamic typing. While dynamic typing provides flexibility, it can also lead to runtime errors that are harder to detect and debug, especially in a larger code base where type-related bugs may not be caught until the execution. So pretty much what that means is that because of the dynamic typing, so you can say one, or you can say I equals 1, but then you can also say I equals Ralph, TechCoach, right? And now when it's trying to convert these things, it definitely lead to issues. So you have to be very, very careful, and it's not easy to catch. And so now once the program is started and now it comes across that piece of code, at that point it's going to fail. With some other languages that don't have that dynamic typing, it won't even get that far. It'll give you an error in the code right away before you can even compile it. So that is another challenge you might run into. So let's keep going. So a global interpreter lock. The GIL prevents multiple native threads from executing Python bytecodes at once, which can be a bottleneck for CPU-bound multi-threaded programs, limiting the language's concurrency capability. So pretty much threading is not one of the best things for Python. And then the ecosystem limitations. Although Python has a vast ecosystem, certain niche applications might lack robust libraries or frameworks compared to languages that are more specified in those areas. So that's a given. So some things to consider when you're choosing Python. Like I said, Python would be my number one language for you to learn. However, it is not the only language you should learn. You should use that as a stepping stone to continue to grow, to continue moving forward. All right, so what are some resources? My number one resource for Python course. So like I said, in the Patreon, I share what the course that I would recommend for learning Python. But in addition to that course, I would say, based on what you're learning, I wouldn't go through the whole entire course, because if you're more interested in being if you're more interested in being a software engineer, I wouldn't be focusing on the data engineering portion of it, right? Or like I would focus more on when you're building these particular applications, so that it can be more focused. It can be a little bit faster for you, and that you're not just getting a bunch of, because when I took the course, there was data engineering, There was automation, there was building a web app, they were building a computer app and stuff like that, and it was just a lot all over the place. I would say focus, like, because the code is the code. Focus on one section and then build and grow from there. Right. So that would be my idea. And then definitely join the course's Discord, or the whichever course you take, join their Discord. All right. Because there are other people you can collaborate with there as well. Resources, coaching, and mentorship, you can get that at techcoachoff.dev with me, and we can work together. I can help you grow. I can make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And then in the Patreon, we're going to be doing live code reviews, like I said. So as you're learning and you want me to look at your code, you want anybody else to look at your code, and we can give you feedback and say, okay, this is good, but you should also be looking to use functions, use methods, use classes more on the object-oriented programming side. All right. So many different things that we can do, tons of resources. So definitely want to tap in. You can join the Patreon for free. And like I said earlier, you can get access to our sprint reviews and see some of the code that my tech barbarians are working on as they show in their sprint reviews. All right. So that is it. That is the conclusion for why I recommend Python as your first coding language, the most important language that you can learn. So we went over what exactly is Python, why it's important, how Python grew in popularity, how to easily get started learning Python, some of the recommended learning paths, some tips for effective learning, some challenges that you would face with learning Python and that Python has as a language, but that doesn't stop us or deter us from actually learning it, and then some resources and references for learning Python as well, right? So that being said, let's go back to full screen as we wrap up this video. All right, so that was our presentation on Python. And like I said, I think Python is one of the most important languages that you can learn. It is a great intro and a great guide. So you definitely want to learn Python, and definitely tap into the Patreon as well, where we can talk amongst one another. We can do our code reviews. You can see the sprint reviews where my tech barbarians are actually building their automation tests using Python as well. You can ask questions. And as well, you can even sign up for coaching yourself, and you can either join the Tech Barbarians, or we can work one-on-one where you're still a Tech Barbarian, but I'm coaching you to help you level up, help you look for jobs, help you get your resume right, so many different things. All right. So that's that. Right. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. Do me a big favor if you didn't do so yet. Click on the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel, help the channel grow as we continue to provide this amazing information. All right. With that being said, quick reminder, like I said, check out the Patreon, techcoachoff.dev, see all of the free content as well as the exclusive content that is only available in the Patreon as well. All right. That being said, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you found this helpful. Leave me a comment if you think I actually go more in depth in Python. What would you like to know about Python? And check us out on the live streams as we actually work on Python code in the live streams as well. All right. That being said, this is Tech Coach Ralph with another episode of Software Explorations. We are out.